Fired up, footballers. Welcome back to another episode of Spitting Postgame. Jeffrey and James here with you as always. And we'll get right into it. So, fortunate, the Fire lost another game to Toronto. They lost 3-0. Away match at TFC. Man, what can I say?
I'll say it. The only team the Fire have beaten the last 6 games is a USL squad who just lost their coach.
Yeah, so the last 6 games of the run of form has not been good. And, you know, TFC, they're a decent squad. I know they've been struggling lately, but they're a really good team. And, you know, Pono elected to go with that 3-in-the-back system from the start.
So did
Basti was kind of that third central defender. And they kind of held on in the beginning of the match, but you know, TFC definitely had their opportunity still to score that first half, but so did the Fire. But TFC was definitely the better team that first half. But, you know, and then they kind of just lost their way that second half.
They came out flat in the second half.
Yeah, just a common thing where they're coming out flat and just no energy, and I just don't understand. You know,
6 games in a row you're coming out flat in the second half.
Yeah, we've said this in our last post game. I mean, this is another match where they're coming out flat, and I don't know if that reflects, you know, the lads, Pono, or what that is. But you know, what I will say is just the 3 in the back. I mean, Pono elected to switch it up from the last game, the last match they played against TFC with that 3 in the back. And man, it looked the exact same.
It achieved a worse result.
It did. I mean, what happens when Basti's there? It's like what happens is the same as it looked like before. Our possession is way too close to Richard Sanchez, and Richard can't handle that pressure. Some of those center backs can't handle the pressure, and the other team just they love it. They're like, oh my God, the Fire are going to play possession right in front of their own goal. Woo!
Basti at center back hasn't worked all season. Nope. It worked in a 1 or a 2 off, and we labeled this early in the season. We called it a high wire act, and we could see in the first time that they ever ran it, this is not sustainable. This is not a tactic you can even rely on.
No.
You can't rely on this because it just invites pressure.
Exactly.
And they have no way to break that pressure because this team doesn't have a counterattacker in them. Katai doesn't have... None of these guys can get the ball in a counterattacking type of area.
Yeah, you said it all. It invites pressure. Their center backs have all the time in the world to knock it around and get to their outside mids, and they just have so much time and space, and then eventually they just...
And no imagination.
Eventually they just slowly creep up, you know, our defensive block, and then we have 6 or 5 guys in a line on our 18, and then they just hit a through ball or cross, and it's like, oh, Josie Altidore, goal. So, I mean...
Well, that's the other thing you see from the other team. Imagination, chances, risks, ideas, and not just from the players you would expect, like the Giovincos. They have a couple players that can maybe make a fool out of you, and the Fire
Vasquez...
and the Fire just don't have that.
Osorio, another good player.
We're too heavily dependent on a Basti and a Katai, who are too easily... Katai could be easily marked out of the match, as we saw this last game. We have so many numbers
backwards that by the time the ball gets to forward, Nico or Katai...
It's too slow.
They don't have the number advantage. They're swamped. They don't have time or space. And then their players are tired from defending the whole match, so... They're coming, but they have nothing. There's no numbers when they're getting forward. So you're right. The counterattack looks slow, and the build-up play isn't even there. But
one of the most damning things, I was watching a YouTuber, one of the Toronto FC YouTubers, who did a nice little tactical analysis. I thought it was a very good. Good video. He was just saying, "Wow, Nikolic is so slow," and I realized Nikolic is too slow to do anything in this league, and without a cam.
Yeah,
and without a cam to unlock him, there's this Nico can't do it. He can't escape the marks. There's nothing to draw the interest away from Nico. So
Nico's a goal scorer. He's a pure goal scorer. He's not going to really help in the build-up.
In the possession.
He'll you know, defend. He'll press. He'll do that.
He runs his butt off.
But again, he needs it to be set up, and all he needs is 1 shot and 1 goal. But he definitely needs it to be provided a service. But let's get into
Tremarty had one comment, though. For the past 5 years, I mean, look at the Fire. The Fire can't get shots in the box. Why? Because they don't have a cam to unlock these teams. And then Nico needs a cam to unlock these teams for him to have success. Yes, he had success last year, but that was severely down due to luck.
All right, so I'm going to go. So TFC won 3-0, 60% possession for TFC, 40% for the men in red. 20 shots, 8 of those on target. 16 of those come from the open play for TFC. 7 shots, 3 of those on target. 5 of the 7 came from the open play for the men in red. 598 passes for TFC. 87% of those were completed. 394 for the men in red. 81% of those are completed.
Toronto always outpasses us.
Final third passes, 174 completed for 72% for Toronto.
Dangerous.
71 passes in the final third. 63% of those completed for the men in
Wait a
red.
second. So they had 100 more passes in the final third than we did?
Yep. Crosses, 17 for TFC, 11 for Chicago. Corners, 6 TFC, 3 Chicago. Aerial duels, 43-43. Both teams tied there. Clearances, TFC 6, Chicago 22. So that pretty much tells the tale of the game right there. I mean, they had the possession the whole match. Chicago was just trying to defend. They would clear the ball. TFC would win the 50-50 ball, and then just whoop, they're back in defending.
It's the tale of the season.
Yeah, it really is. And this is probably perhaps the most damning status. Katai had 2.2%. What is this? The possession rate. Possession rate.
Out of
2.2
out of all the possession the Fire
Yeah.
had. Yeah, he only had 2.2% of it compared to the rest of the team.
Thank you.
And he is just so uninvolved. But
Probably his worst game in a while.
Can you really put it down to him, or can you put it down to the tactics and the rest of the team just incapable of getting this guy in a ball in a dangerous spot?
It wasn't just him. Nico 1.8, Campos 1.8. So
Nico's always down to 1 or 2%.
All three of those attackers just not getting the ball in. And for Katai, I mean, he usually hovers around 4, 5, 6%. So let's put it this way: TFC eliminated him from the game plan.
For what I noticed was TFC had their two-headed monster of Giovinco and Altidore, and that's all they needed up there to create enough. The Fire have just Nico up there, and then just Katai up there, and then just Campos up there, and they're all isolated.
Yeah. Because they're busy defending. They have so many numbers back defending, and they're so deep in their half because they invite them. So by the time they don't really build, they'll either clear it or hit a long ball, and then there's 3 dudes up there and all their defenders, and then they'll either win it right there or lose it up here if they win it. So and then the Fire numbers are going up, they lose it, and then they're just in that cycle of win the ball, lose it, win the ball, lose it. So
there's not a single formation that the Fire are good at. There's not a single formation that this Fire roster is set up to play successfully, and because they only have 5 capable MLS players, 5 proven MLS players, so you got to put those 5 starting there, and then where are you going to put the rest? Just line them up in the goal behind Richard Sanchez, maybe, because I don't know what to do, because these guys have no answers whatsoever. Pano's tried everything.
He's tried a lot,
and I can't blame him for trying all these things, but the fact of the matter is the players that he's having to rely on the most are just not good enough.
And that goes back to what you said in the beginning of this, that the last team they beat was a USL team. So,
they have USL capable players who are great at, this would be a great USL team. This is a great argument for promotion relegation, is what the Chicago Fire have been for the last 6 years. Great argument for promotion relegation.
Let's get into the half breakdown. So first half, TFC was the better squad, had quite a bit of opportunities. Chicago Fire had a few opportunities. Definitely the better of the half. Obviously it was 0-0. But, even when
Toronto had the better of the half.
Toronto had a better half.
But it wasn't a bad half for the Fire.
But even with the Fire having a good half for the Fire, they're still giving up chances and opportunities. It's more so they're bending, not breaking. So
I'm sorry, you could tell that they were going to lose that game.
But, I mean, Ellis just was out of shape, not a good defender. I mean, his defensive skills he's liable back there. He's just late. Don't get much on offense. Edwards looks okay at times, still acclimating. Hassler still acclimating. Both Hassler looked better as a right back, better than he did as a center mid.
But think about that. What does that tell you? If he's electing to play a new guy who's a right back preferred as a center mid, over Mo, over Chani. Look at the depth of this team. Yeah. The fact that he has to rely on an MLS proven right back to play center mid for him.
Yeah, but apparently he is a capable or serviceable center
mid, much better right back.
Internationally. What else? Anything else? I mean, that's really it. All I got for the first half. Then the second half, like we alluded to earlier in the episode, they come out flat, no energy, and they're just inviting TFC. I mean, to start, I have WOW written here. TFC knocks around like with their back 3.
Well, they changed it to a 4-4-2 diamond.
Okay, they're back. Well, let me put it this way. For the first 2 minutes of the match, TFC's back line just knocks the ball around for like 2 minutes. And then it ends up in them almost scoring it. And then it's just like, oh my gosh. And then there's times I'm seeing Bono. He hits a long ball past the halfway line. It's like, oh my gosh. But
the Fire look like a USL side. That's how bad they are. They look like a USL side that the entire MLS knows they are better than.
Well, and it's so easy. All teams do is they have a slow build up. Our defensive block becomes, there's no depth to it. Mm-hmm. There's no 1, 2, 3. There's no lines.
They all get lost in translation.
5 or 6 guys on the 18, and then there's so much space in front of them that they can cross it, hit a long ball, slip them in. So they just back up, and that was because Basti was playing center back. And
this boat has 6 holes in it, and it's been taking on water every game that they all have to bail out, and they have to try and sail this boat on, and it's impossible to do. It's impossible because the boat is sinking.
You can't invite pressure, not with this back line and with our goalie. I mean, you just can't invite pressure like that. I mean, this was the past couple games. I mean, Pano's been rolling with that 4-2-3-1, even against good opponents. And, yeah, we lost, but, I mean, it didn't look this bad.
They got a better result with the 1-2 at home.
So we conceded in the 52nd minute to Josie Altidore. TFC, like we said, came out hot. And what happened was Edwards' turnover. TFC keeps the ball for about 2 minutes, so they had a big spell of possession. Giovinco slips the ball in, and then there was a big scramble in the box. Richard actually could have saved it. I mean, there was like this lollygag rebound.
It was like this.
Deflection.
It was that slow.
It like hit off his chest or knee, and then Brandon's like, oh, and then Josie's like, no. So, yeah, I guess that was a terrible way to describe the goal, but it was a mad scramble off the cross. So, and then Richard had an opportunity.
But a completely savable ball that he just fumbled.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, deflates the team right there, and then it was more of the same. I mean, more TFC trying and, I mean, putting it on us, and then in the 72nd minute, Osorio broke the men in red again.
The Fire never looked like they were threatening.
Well, they had a few opportunities first half, but that was really it.
Yeah.
They give up. They get destroyed on turnovers, which really are counters. When they turn the ball over higher up on the pitch, and they get countered so easily.
And they're not a good counter-attacking team themselves.
72nd minute, another goal off a counter. But they try to
play that way.
Lucho turnover led to the counter. Altidore checks, plays the ball to a checking Osorio.
When you're constantly losing the possession battle like the Fire are almost every game, you got to be a better counter-attacking team, and they just aren't at all.
So Osorio plays Vasquez. Vasquez crosses to Giovinco, who crosses a negative ball back to eventually Osorio, who continued his run, and he passes it in back post for an easy goal. So 2-0. The Fire, even after giving up that goal, I guess we're pressing a little bit. But especially after giving up that first goal, Basti stopped playing center back, so it looked better. It definitely looked better when Basti moved up, but hey... 10 minutes later, 20 minutes later, they're scored on again. So.
Is Basti making that decision like he was earlier in the season, where Basti was making formation decisions that Pano didn't necessarily clear because he was saying Basti decided to go play back center, or did Basti decide to go play center mid all of a sudden? Does Pano have the hold of the team? Does Pano have the corral of the team if his best player doesn't respect his ability and his acumen?
I bet you they're on the same page with that.
I would hope so.
I mean, if they're losing 1-0 to TFC... it just makes sense for Basti to move up at that point, especially with the way the game was being played. I mean, at that point, you might as well risk it to get the biscuit in. So I think both of them are on the same page. So again,
but the subs that they put in, apparently they brought in Mo Adams, making a little defensive.
Yeah,
but that allowed Basti to shift up more.
Mo came on in the 56th minute for Brandt. Brandt was on yellow. 64th minute, Lucho on, Campos off. 79th minute, Gordon on, Katai off. And then I'll get to the last goal, which was scored in the 89th minute, pretty much the 90th minute. Giovinco, I think after hitting the post like twice, 5 minutes before that, finally got another turnover. Giovinco basically was sprung from the midfield, took a couple touches, shot, deflected off a Fire player, and in. So,
but the thing is, they gave him that initial space. They're so fearful of his touch and that they don't realize this guy's like who's that New York Knicks player who always shoots? Who just got traded?
Porzingis, Carmelo Anthony.
Carmelo. He shoots a lot, and so that's how Giovinco shoots a lot, and that's how he gets a lot of goals. But he's a damn good shot. And then you give him that inch or that space where he can take that shot. Bam, that's what happens. And the Fire are just not good at defense.
And you can tell their confidence is so shot. They don't feel comfortable enough to hold a line. They just drop. They
have no confidence.
And then it's like,
Richard.
we're in the 18. And usually when you're at the 18 is where you have to step. But, I mean, God, they just drop and drop. But
sadly, the entire team has no faith in Richard. They'll give him lip service. And there's even less faith in Stephen Cleveland because if there was any faith in Stephen Cleveland, he would have already made an appearance by now. He's basically a paper tiger. I doubt he'll ever see the field of MLS. Tiger. If he's not good enough to play in USL, he's never going to play in MLS. And if he wasn't good enough to go play against Louisville, he's not going to get a game.
If he was going to play, it would have been that Louisville game.
Barring an injury.
All right, so starting lineup. It varied from a 3-3/4-2-3-1 at times to 3 in the back. I mean, everyone was
3-4-3.
switching.
3-4-3.
3-4-3, whatever you want to call it. The starting lineup that came out on Twitter was, I'll read as this. Sanchez was the goalie, Edwards left back, Brandon Vincent center back, Cap center back, Ellis right back, Hassler, Basti, Brant Bronico center mids, Campos, Nico, Katai were up top. But that's not really what it was at all. It really was 3 in the back with, who was it? It was Basti, Brandon, and
Ellis?
Cap. And then it was Edwards.
Ellis
as like wing backs, and then it was Brant, Hassler, Campos, I think, are kind of like in the mid with Nico and Katai up top. And then it switched.
Campos kind of played with Nico and Katai, but on the other side, they kind of play like a 3-headed attack there, kind of.
And then eventually Basti moved up in the mid, and then I think there's a time where Hassler moved out to right back, so it was getting all convoluted and crazy. But yeah, I guess we'll get into the player portions. Richard Sanchez, unfortunately, the poor display. Gosh, the book is out. Broken record, yeah.
The book is out. Richard's not good enough right now, and maybe
it's
next
in between
season,
the year thing, but I don't know.
Think about his presentation of Richard, though. Just think about what you see and I see. If Richard was my teammate, I'd be like, dude,
I'd feel bad for the guy.
I'd be like, first of all, I'd be like, dude, have some energy. Second of all, keep your chin up. Third of all, be our freaking quarterback. Don't be this Swiss cheese, I don't know what matzo ball of a player he is. He's just always looks down.
He needs some confidence.
Always looks tired. He always just looks sad, and he's like, he always looks like he's pouting. And I'm like, dude, be Howard. Look at the best goalies out there and emulate them. It's like you aren't paying attention. It's like you aren't a professional. It's like you don't do this for your job. You do this as a hobby, and you do it for your job. You can do this. You can study other players and take some of the best parts of their locker and put it into your own.
Yeah,
step up your level.
I do see
Get some confidence and start displaying the confidence. Fake it until you make it, Richard. You have some great ability. You have some great shot stepping ability. You have some great reflexes. The biggest flaw you have is that you got to get it between the ears, and you got to start showing, hey, I'm impossible to beat. I'm a freaking brick wall, no matter what.
Okay. Good motivational talk. I don't even think I'll say anything about Richard. You said it all. Edwards was that left back. Second game for him. There's moments of good, and then there's moments of where he just kind of gives it away, maybe doing a little bit too much. But, overall, I like what he brings. You have different change of pace kind of guy, some width, maybe a little bit more dynamic. Another dynamic player opposite of Katai's side. So maybe he needs some more time, but I like what Edwards is doing. Now, yes, he does need to pick it up, right? And the newbie card can only be played so long. But I do like what I'm seeing from Raheem Edwards so far.
He's clearly one of our top 3 attackers.
Yeah.
And that was sorely lacking from this team. And he's already worth the price paid, in my opinion.
Brandon Vincent, probably a stronger game from him as a center back. Lately, I think this was one of Brandon's perhaps stronger games. I don't know. You're making
they lost 3-0. They lost.
You're making me really guess myself. I mean, I'll stick with this. I think Brandon was a little bit better today.
You watched it a little bit closer than I did, though.
I think he was better today. He won some 50-50 balls. I just really think it was more so just Basti playing. We lost really because of how we play with Basti in that 3 in the back
doesn't work.
System, so.
It doesn't work, and it won't work.
Kappelhoff. Okay game, man. I think I saw Giovinco win some head balls in front of him, though.
Kappelhoff had a bad game. Kappelhoff didn't have a good game, and he hasn't had a good game all season because he's been playing with a USL partner to his right and playing with a not good enough MLS-capable center back partner to his left. And he also a non-USL, not even MLS-capable goalkeeper that he's always have to defend from taking on water. He's got 3 players directly around him that are just not good enough, and he has to take up. He's got to lift 1,000 pounds because these guys can't lift 20.
No doubt. That's what's going through his head. Him just thinking, I got to do this, I got to do that, I get no help, and maybe that's why he's a touch slow. I mean, when you're not thinking about the game and you're stewing in your head, maybe that's why you're a touch slow to tackles or aerials or things. Or
you got to cover for 3 other players who are
especially with the guy. Man, Ellis. Ellis really has regressed defensively. I mean, he had an injury. He's just. I don't know if it's slow or he's always
been slow.
His defensive shape has been poor. He's late to tackles, late to challenges, and he's starting to get pretty much picked apart back there.
Shouldn't be starting. Shouldn't have been starting this entire season. But the fact that he has been starting is damning on Nelson.
So no Corrales.
This was a trialist. We're depending largely on trialists to get through an MLS season. trialists.
Nico Hassler at center mid, James.
Nico Hassler, serviceable at center mid. Obviously, the best of what's available back there because you don't want to go to Mo. You don't want to go to Chani because, frankly put, they're just not good enough. Yeah. And Nico Hassler is good enough. He's a proven commodity in MLS that he can play that right back, center mid, and right mid spot. He was way more effective in that right back spot. I thought that he was a little slow in center mid. I thought he was a little slow to things, but also you could see what he was good at.
First, they're two completely positions. I mean, center mid, you have so much more responsibility. You're in the middle of the pitch. There's so many more variables.
Lanes.
There's so much more depth going on there.
When he had one lane, he was great.
And then when you're right back, I know what you're saying. You're right-sided lane. And yeah, it's just way different. But Hassler definitely looks like a piece going forward. Basti,
terrible at center back.
Shouldn't be playing center back. Just so much. He just helps the Fire so much more.
Too slow at center back.
The line's higher when he is playing in the center mid.
Too reactive at center back, not proactive at center back.
Let me talk, James. Our back line's higher. Our possession is higher up the pitch. We press higher up the pitch when he's playing in the center mid.
More confidence going forward.
Yeah, we need Basti to be playing in the middle. Brant Bronico, okay game. Picked up a yellow. Maybe that's why he was out. Again, just not having Dax really in, it hurts those two. It hurts Basti and Brant not having Dax there. So
Brant is coming to his own this season, but still, this is a player who he would not be starting on most other teams in the MLS because there's just better proven players at that position all throughout the MLS, but not on the Fire. The Fire are lacking at that position, so they can let the young gun of Brant Bronico learn on the job and let him learn because maybe for the next 2 seasons he'll get better and better and better.
Well, you weren't even expecting anything from Brant Bronico in the start of the year. Alexander Katai. Wasn't really involved. I don't know if that was him being lazy. I know
it was a product of the offense.
I don't know if that's him, and I know Pano took him out, or if that's just TFC game planning. That's probably a little bit of both.
Mavinga marked him out of the match. They can't get the ball to him, and when you shut out Katai, there's no way for this team to score.
Only on the ball.
All the book is out on the Fire, and everybody knows this. Knock Katai out. They circle Katai.
And then it takes Nico out.
But Basti has so much far to travel that they're fine letting Basti travel all that different distance from the deep center mid, right? He's not really a threat.
And they're so stretched out. They have their 3 attacking guys up here. They have their 7 midfielders and defenders, trying to defend for their life. When they hoof a ball finally to these 3, they have so much distance they have to travel that these 3 guys have to do a lot.
And they're isolated, and they have no help around them. Nico's too far away from Katai to offer any help, and then there's no right back center mid help offering Katai for him to lay it off to the point where he has to do like a little crazy kickback, rodeo style, and throw it, and it goes back like 25 yards, but it helps create something. But that was the most we saw out of Katai.
Nico, same kind of game. When he doesn't score, same kind of game for me. Not really involved.
Nico's too
defended.
Slow. Nico's being exposed.
Just not getting that service. Hold on, James. Let me talk. So please, wasn't getting that service because this goes for Campos. Guys like Campos, Nico, and Katai. Whenever the Fire are so deep in their own half and they have to defend, it's never going to be a good game for them. I mean, they need their touches in the offensive third. The closer they are to the offensive third, the better. With 40 possession, 7 shots,
40% possession for those 3 guys to be successful.
That goes to the same thing for Campos. I mean, you don't want those guys focusing on defending the whole match. You want them running at people with the ball, having their head up, and attacking. And when you're defending the whole game, guys like Campos, Nico, and Katai. They're just not going to do it for you. Again, Katai, 2.2% on the ball, 1.8 for Nico, 1.8 for Campos. So they're our front 3 attacking guys. We're just not getting the ball.
Subs.
I think I might have said this already, but 56th minute Mo on Bronico off.
How did Mo do?
Mo was okay. I mean, at that point,
Lucho was the next guy?
Lucho's the next guy. I think Lucho was pretty bad, not going to lie. He lost the ball a lot. One of the goals were from his turnover. But again, it's hard to be
USL level player being called on to play at MLS caliber.
It's hard to come in as a sub, especially against a good team like TFC. 79th minute, Gordon on, Katai off. Gordon really didn't do much. Again, any attacking player really didn't do much because we didn't get the ball up there. So,
it's the same old.
Same old story, really. I mean, it definitely hurt the Fire playing that 3 in the back system. Probably should have played the 4-2-3-1 like they normally have, but that probably wouldn't have been enough anyway. Stinks that we lost out on that Cam. That's a big bummer. Apparently, there's still one more standing transfer offer for an attacking player. But, man, yeah, I want a Cam, and I might even want a goalie and some more defensive options back there. So it's unfortunate. I think the Fire have to win like 8 of the next 11 games to be close to that playoff spot. And
it ain't going to happen.
We'll see.
Pono looks exasperated. He looks like he is read 3 different encyclopedias for the answers, and none of the answers he's finding are working because the problem is it's rigged against him when he only has 5 MLS-capable players, and he's got to worry about how to make those guys fit along with 6 other not MLS-capable players, not MLS-caliber players who are USL-level quality, and I'm not making any of this up because the stats reflect this. The Fire are amongst the worst teams in the MLS, and the only team they've beaten the last 6 games is a USL squad with a new coach.
Yeah. I think their last one was against that surprise win against New York City.
This is a USL squad playing in MLS right now.
We'll see, and that falls on Nelson. I mean, Nelson, I don't know.
Falls completely on Nelson.
He, for some reason, decided to go into the season with an incomplete roster, and that's on him. So I know Pono is,
Can that guy. Not Pono.
Pono hasn't been perfect himself, but I mean, when you have this type of roster, you kind of have to be perfect, and that's unfair for us to ask him to be perfect.
He's captain of a steering ship. He's like, hoist the sails, bail the boat out, grab the till. Oh my gosh, I only have 3 guys I could rely on, but there's like 10 spots on this boat where I need people to be running for it to have a successful boat, and I'm missing 7 guys. You just can't run a boat like that.
You were due for a good James metaphor. You definitely were.
I mean, it's 11 guys, really, but I mean, 11 guys plus the coach, but it's hard to run this ship when you only have 5 good mates and the rest are passengers.
And then think about the psyche.
You have 5 crew members and the rest are passengers.
Think about the psyche of the players, too. I mean, it's in a negative place. But let's end this here, James, before we get a little long. Thanks for watching, guys. Hopefully we can snap this losing streak in the MLS here and beat a team rather than a USL team. So we'll see.
I have no hope for the Fire bringing in anybody in because who wants to come to this dumpster fire? Nobody. That's who. And I will be surprised if Basti does actually resign with his team. If he signs up with this team, God bless him. God bless him, because holy cow, he is a saint.
He must love raising his kid here.
That would have to be
loves it.
Well, you know what? Move to Minnesota. You could go play in Minnesota and still have some of the Chicago lifestyle too.
Colder there.
But it's a little bit colder there. Well, I'm just saying he could live in Chicago, go play in Minnesota. He's got the money to be able to fly back and forth.
You don't want to do that.
But you don't want to do that.
All right. Anyways, thanks for watching, guys.
All right. Boys and girls, we'll see you guys later. Toss a like if you enjoyed the analysis. Add any comments below if you have anything to add, and subscribe for more Spitting Fire. We'll see you guys later.
See you guys.